Let's get into it. Butch joins me now. And the Masters is always intriguing to me because you expect the big names to have big performances, and sometimes they do, like Tiger Woods a couple years ago. But this was impressive because it's guys you didn't necessarily expect to step up. I mean, for Hideki Matsuyama to go -10, who saw it coming? For Will Zalatoris to go -9 and go home with $1.2 million, he'll talk about that forever.
Well, I was watching it today and I was thinking to myself, just the expression, Sunday at the Masters. Besides Super Bowl Sunday, besides a Game 7 in any of the major sports for a championship, it rarely disappoints. And even though there wasn't tons of drama today, there was enough down the stretch. And then you get to Matsuyama and you think about it, and he was a 40-1. Nobody bet him, Tom. He was 40-1 to win this thing, And I read an article this morning that I think this is the biggest sports moment in Japan.
Well, I'd believe it. And they showed some of the Tokyo broadcast, which was pretty cool throughout the CBS broadcast today. Okay, so we have to unbury the Red Sox because a week ago they were dead and buried and we put them in their coffin. So now 6 wins later, how much should we believe that this team is something even close to the real deal?
You're never as bad as when you're at your worst, and you're never as good as when you're at your best. They're 6-3 though, and they're tied in the American League with the Astros and who else? And the Astros and the Angels. It doesn't really matter at this point, but all good signs. Let's really talk about JD Martinez.
16 RBIs. It's unreal when you think about it. 9 games in.
Not only is he hitting .472, he leads the American League right now in these categories: homers, RBIs, slugging, and OPS. Oh, hold on. The nerds don't count those stats anymore. He's playing unbelievable. He's out of his gourd right now.
Clearly frustrated by not only what transpired in 2020, but how it was perceived. That people looked at him and said, he's done, he doesn't have it anymore. He wants to prove a lot of people wrong, and so far he's doing that.
The biggest surprise to me, Erod back. Add in Eovaldi, Richards. Richards had a good recovery after giving up 2 home runs yesterday. Perez and Pivetta. Pivetta's had 2 good. The starting pitching in the bullpen is better than any of us thought. Any of us.
So now they head to Minnesota. We'll see how that all plays out. Today, basketball, as we shift over to the Celtics, you could argue it's their best win of the year. To be almost dead and buried themselves, 14 down in the second half, we've seen them roll over and die. But it's been a nice progression throughout this week that really, today was the exclamation point to get a win like that on the road against a very hot Denver team. 40-8, they outscored them down the stretch.
Well, that's great. And you want to say best win, you want to rank them. I don't want to do that because here's the numbers that count. There are 18 games left in this season, this shortened season. They're in the 7th seed. Oh, yeah, by the way, only a game out of being in the 4th seed. Only 2.5 out of missing the playoffs, Tom. They got to win the majority of their games down the stretch to get a good playoff seed. And Jayson Tatum has to lead them.
So Jayson Tatum exploded for 53 in the overtime win against Minnesota. The big story was who he got that motivation from. What's your take on that? Because there's always in this market some inferred belief that the athletes do indeed listen to what's being said about them. And obviously Kendrick Perkins said some very pointed things about Jayson Tatum, and then he goes out and scores 53. Your take?
Well, Kendrick Perkins, who works for the Celtics station, pulled his own Dennis Eckersley and had the players talking about him. And Tatum, if people didn't hear it, after the game, after beating the T-Wolves, called Perkins out. And Perkins took credit for it. But really what it comes down to, shouldn't people internally be calling Jayson Tatum out?
And that's the million-dollar question.
If that's the case,
million-dollar
if he's going to respond like that, they should.
Hey, 53 points, you'll take it. Wherever the motivation comes from. So apparently, UMass winning the national championship last night.
They did. That isn't apparently.
A bit back. No, what I'm saying is apparently it was a bit like the U.S. Olympic team beating Finland for the gold medal. It's like you got the sense that when they got past Minnesota Duluth, not that it was easy, but it was easy.
That was the Russians. You're absolutely right. The guy that impressed me more in this story than anybody else was Greg Carvel, the head coach. Just the way he handled himself. And that moment at the end of that game with 3 minutes to go, ESPN caught it, where he called the team in. He talked about it after the game to let them know, I'm 60, and this is the greatest moment of my life. This is the greatest moment of your life, guys. Soak it in. I'm so proud of you, and how emotional he was. Tom, here's the thing that really strikes me. We all called them Cinderella. They're not Cinderella. They didn't come out of nowhere. They were the best team in college hockey all year. They had a backup goalie who was anything but a backup. He knew they were going to win this thing.
And they had a lot of motivation because they were on that stage in the last tournament and lost to Minnesota Duluth. So to beat the team that beat you and then finish the job by winning the national title, very impressive. Okay, the draft is coming up. So we're getting close. I'm not going to give you any draft predictions, but after the break, we're going to hear from you about the Patriots quarterbacks and what your thoughts are in that regard. Give us a little tease.
Well, you just answer a question for me, and that'll be the tease.
Okay.
I just want a prediction. When the draft is over, do the Patriots draft a quarterback, and is it in the first round or beyond?
Draft a quarterback not in the first round.
Ooh, you're teasing my package big time. You know why? Because second tier isn't always second best.